Welcome to Creating Disney Magic with Lee Cockerell, lessons in leadership, management, and customer service. You can create magic too. I'm your host, Jody Mayberry, and I'm here with Lee Cockerell. And last episode, we talked about attention to detail, and I have one that goes hand in hand. Lee and I have been working on an upcoming edition of the Main Street Leader, and Lee makes a point in there about paying attention. So I think when we talk attention to detail, at least when I think of that, I think, okay, the Imagineers, they pay attention to detail, operators pay attention to detail, trash, how does things look, are there cobwebs? But Lee, in this Main Street Leader, one of the things you are encouraging leaders to pay attention to is people. So it's more than what's going on in the operation, how does it look, are the salt and pepper shakers lined up, whatever. You're saying pay attention to people. So last time we talked about details of the operation. This time, let's talk about paying attention to people.
Well, that's the root of everything, good or bad. If you got great people and you are clear with them about your expectations and you train them and you give them appreciation and recognition and encouragement and you give them development so they can have a better life, they'll pay attention to the details. And it's such a simple concept. I still hear from companies and people who work for companies that tell me that how ineffective their leader is and not paying attention and doesn't care about them, doesn't know anything about them, is not helping them with their career. And that's kind of crazy. But it somehow it happens because people become managers, they become leaders. Sometimes it goes to their head and they all of a sudden think they're special and that they don't really clearly understand what their responsibility is. And, as we've often talked, when you're a leader, your job is to make things better. And you make things better through your people, not through you. You're there to make sure things get done, to make sure they get trained, to get developed, that they feel good. You're there to build their self-confidence, their self-esteem, their belief in themselves. As I've said many times when people said, "What'd you do at Disney, Lee?" I said nothing. Basically, I made sure things got done. And the way I did that is I had an amazing team. I had no issues. I had no turnover with my executive team. Took the time to hire the right ones, be clear, meet with them, talk about it. I was at the table to be part of the decision, not the decision maker, and all of that culture and environment that is created improves everybody. Their attitude to want to be good. They do it because they want to, not because they have to, because they're worried about their boss or supervisor. I would hope people weren't worrying about their boss, if you will. And we talked about this. If you're a teacher, you're part of the team. Your job is to lead and manage people. I read an article the other day that said a teacher learned that the best way to get after a student that's not doing their work well or late or didn't turn it in right is to be gentle. Be gentle. Be gentle with difficult feedback so that you don't destroy anybody's self-confidence or make people feel like they're not doing a good job. And she changed her whole approach. She said she quit using a red pencil to grade the papers. She said red. She started using a blue pencil, writing little. And actually, she used a pencil, and she used a lead pencil also to write lightly. Here's what you need to do. And she says, and I think she's right. Instead of you getting a paper back with big red writing on it, And I think it's just every approach we have is to think about how are we affecting people emotionally. It's true. Those little teeny things, the way you say something, to somebody, the way that look on your face. You can really set people back, and we don't want people intimidated. We want people to be clear-minded, not worrying about how they're going to recover from some bad experience with their boss, because that's what happens if your boss sits down and is harsh and tough. That's all you think about for the next 3 days. You're not in there getting the work done and being productive. And so, environment, culture, the way we treat people, I guess we have to figure out how to treat ourselves first, and just don't get so hot and heavy about issues. You're there to teach. You're not there to rule. And when we do that, people are sensitive. People are fragile, and every single person you deal with is different. And you don't even know the problems they have. Somebody said, "Here's the person, and this little speck is what you know about them," and you've got to tread gently through that little garden and don't step on flowers, be gentle and help people come around. And I think we all know that when we feel safe emotionally and physically, that we put more effort and we're not getting off subject. We're thinking about what we're doing instead of, I think most accidents in the world happen when people are worried about something else and not paying attention. And next thing you know, you push the wrong button or you don't, you back the truck up without looking or all these things because of an emotion. You want people clear-minded and focused on now. And so treat people well and they'll do well. Yeah.
And I do think if you are worried about, well, I've got a job to do, my supervisor expects things of me, I just expect my team to do what they're supposed to do, and I don't have time to go out and check on them and whatnot. There is a real return to this, because if Leah said, it's been many, many episodes since Lee talked about this, but I still remember this. Lee said, if someone changes, something changed. And if you can catch that in the workplace, you're going to possibly save their career. You're going to save their view of the company. You don't know what's going to, and the story I have with that, there was someone who, this person reported to someone that reported to me. So 2 levels down, but I just noticed that she was normally a superstar, but the last week something just seemed like her performance was down. She wasn't very friendly. Neither of those were like her. So I just one day said, "Hey, how are things? And she just said, "Fine." And I said, "Well, you don't seem to be who you normally are." And that's all she needed, that extra nudge. And she was having a pretty tremendous personal struggle with something. And that's all it took. And from then on, she felt like somebody at work noticed and somebody cared. And had we had a hard approach instead of a gentle approach, who knows what direction that would have went. Maybe she wouldn't have worked there for much longer, but instead she felt like somebody cared because someone was paying attention.
Yeah, we're in a time when we know that's important right now. Anxiety, depression, and people are worried at every level, from children to middle school, high school, college, adults. It's a time more than ever to all really be paying attention to everybody in your life and to look for those signs that people need some support and some positive reaction and interaction. So yeah, and we know a lot of times we're not paying attention, and it's happening right in front of us, our kids or wife or just be alert, pay attention to what's going on around you so it doesn't affect you more than it will if you're not paying attention. So,
if you take this episode and last episode, I think it can give you just a different picture on what the role of a leader is, because we said pay attention to detail and pay attention to your people. Lead beyond that. Up until you get a leadership role, it is all about you, but now you're a leader. And so I think those are more important than anything else. Once you have a leadership role, is the details and the people.
It is, and we got even young people starting out. I think they got to realize that their behavior is affecting their future, and they got to pay attention to be more sensitive, kind, and nicer, and firm when you have to be. But sometimes if you're nice, you don't have to be firm. People do a good job. You don't have to have that session because they're not suffering from a lack of understanding. People just want to be understood, and the brain, as we said, is very complex. We don't know what's going on up there. We overreact. We insecurity. There's a million reasons why we don't do the right thing. And when you think about it every day, you'll get better. Just you got to think about it. Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing today? Am I paying attention? When you enter an environment, think about, okay, people have got their eyes on me. I'm going to interact. Am I going to make people's lives better in here today or worse? And yeah, we don't want anybody running away when they see you coming.
Yeah, you don't want to end up with a nickname like Doberman.
Exactly. Yeah. They put you in the pound.
Yes, there you go. Well, if you want someone else to pay attention to the details of your vacation, you should probably call our friends at Magical Vacation Planner. You can reach them at 407-442-2694 or go to leecockerell.com, and there's a banner right there on the website. And, a few episodes ago, Lee started challenging me to keep these shorter. They had started to creep a little longer. And last episode, I didn't even look at the clock. But this episode, I'm watching. We didn't get the 10-minute limit, Lee, but I watched enough to know, I paid attention enough to know that it's probably time to wrap this one up.
All right. We'll get better. Okay. Take care. Thank you.
We'll get better. All right. You can find Lee at leecockerell.com, and back episodes of this podcast, you can reach me at jodymayberry.com. Until next week, go out and create magic for others.